welcome to the Dice Box and Dunwall by Night. Our trio of this joke will go over just about everybody's heads, but our rat queens um,
Hmm.
are uh, are currently in a inn of sorts in the more ragged parts of Dunwall, having secured a rent-a-parlor for about 5 days. With their grand, bold mission to be to find an apartment. Because that's really epic. To be fair, given the housing market in London, which is kind of what Dunwall is based on, I guess it kind of is, but I personally want to know how the fuck they think they're gonna pay for any of it. Because that's the other thing that is going to haunt them in the watches of the night. Currently, most you have is like uh, the 3 silver in that's left in Viola's pouch, the 3 silver that's left in Jerica's pouch, and multiple silver adding up to around about 9-ish gold in Delphine's pocket. And that's
Uh-huh.
not going to keep you for overly long. But your 5 days does come with meals, which after you've had yourselves a reasonable bit of snooze, there's just a bam bam on the door and the sound of somebody walking away. So somebody's apparently trying to get your attention. But they don't necessarily want in.
Jerica jerks up and rushes to the side of the door. She has her hand under her coat, then
No, nobody seems to
crack
be. Nobody seems to be coming in. And you just
she
hear creaking footsteps on the
unlocks the door and peeks out.
Um, outside, you just see the back of the barman heading down the stairs, and then you look down, and there's a plate of Kipper's toast, a fairly dingy teapot, and 3 cups.
Oh, she takes it back inside, puts it on the table.
Yeah, so you guys are coming awake to. Oh hey, look, the promised Kippers.
Viola doesn't move at first and just slowly brings her hand up, just kind of patting just to see, okay, where did that mouse get, or where did that rat get off to? If it's,
You wind up with this spider as your grasping hand pokes in the eye.
oh dear, sorry, little one.
It just backs up and
Pet,
then
pet, pet, pet.
Mumes as you're reaching to pet because it doesn't want to get poked in.
Oh,
I'm gonna hold
uh,
out arm just to let lean over, hold out arm to be rat ramp.
uh, please apologize for me. That was accidental.
Going to quietly trigger the beast speech.
Ow.
She says she's sorry about that.
I know. She smells sorry, but I don't want to be in accident range.
Yeah,
Snuggles
because
into collar again.
humans are far too big and far too flaily.
Yeah. There's fish.
Yeah, looks like kippers.
Right. Food and, oh, bloody hell. A thought occurs. We made talk of, well, I made the suggestion of finding a base of operations, but there's also the concern of how in the world we will cover it.
Well,
If we had coin, it just keeps staying here. But you go to the quarantine districts, a lot of places, not a lot of people. Of course, there's also
Weepers.
the Weepers, the Rats, guards.
The rats aren't. I mean, no, Delphine is like, okay, it's
Just
fine. The sick rats are maybe a problem, but most of the rats listen to me.
yeah,
Jirga
that's just
just
getting
looked
like,
at her at the rats.
Yeah.
And she's acknowledging that there's a solution to that part.
Yeah. It probably
well,
occurs to the more intelligent ones that maybe the actual solution is find a way to earn some money.
let's jump to a different potential solution. Let's figure out a way to keep ourselves flush with some amount of coin so that instead of having to search and hope and not know if we can pay for a situation or have to improvise in places that are probably accessible but potentially more dangerous than they're worth. In short, better sort money first so we can at the very least continue staying here, and then if possible expand to an actual base of operations later. In the meantime, our barman friend, if I recall, was not exactly against my little friends, so long as they weren't in immediate view, and didn't seem to have any further issues with us either.
Yeah, particularly it will occur given that at least two of you flashed that.
Because he hasn't called in the overseers.
I imagine he's the type who doesn't ask questions as long as somebody's paying their tab.
And this would also give us the opportunity to, while we're looking for work, look for leads for your particular requirements.
Oh, we're gonna end up slumming it, regardless of what we're looking for.
Viola, you were already slumming it.
I think more about your cult problem.
Could ask the barman about boxing rings. Seen one or two of those. We have enough coin to scrounge up, place a few bets, and I can go into the ring.
I had a better thought. We have power. We have the capacity to do several things far more efficiently than just get into a bare knuckle brawl. My vote, contracts.
Contract for who?
Does it
What?
matter?
We're not in a position to be
Yes.
picky.
Yes, it does.
It really doesn't matter.
This is Dunwall. You make friends with somebody, that tends to mean you're making enemies with somebody else. Especially in a neighborhood like this.
Yeah, but given that's universal, it's not exactly like we can afford to be picky, stingy, or choosy. The only way we could afford to do that is if we were, I don't know, the new Royal Protector or whatever, and I don't see them pulling up a Royal Protector anytime soon.
I suppose the barman would know the local bosses and which ones aren't complete psychopaths and are only partial psychopaths.
Yeah, and if that fails, then we can just pick a president and take anything that's not nailed down.
Enough leverage, we could take the things nailed down as well, but I digress.
Fluffy, how would you carry them?
Was that telepathic or
No, that
in
was that was
birds?
that was two that
Walk?
was two that was bird squawk to Viola. How would you carry them?
I didn't say we take them very far.
I think
And this
making a
and
point for
this
the sake of
and
making a point.
and this telepathically did the book smarts in her take the place of all the street smarts?
I'm just going to nod in response to that.
Fluff, fluff, fluff.
Well, if you wanted to ask about local gang bosses or anything of that nature, I am gonna have to leave that to you, Jerica. My last attempted conversation downstairs was not great.
Barman seems decent enough, but other locals, I'm not sure if they're gonna take either of you terribly seriously. No offense.
They don't need to take me seriously. They just need to do what we ask or be food.
Let's try to avoid that.
That's certainly an approach.
Yes, although one that brings to mind some of the carnage of the previous evening and does tend to put one a little off one's kippers.
Yeah.
Jerica's pausing
Um,
mid kipper,
mm,
sets that
I'm
back
still
down.
going and sharing with my friend.
Your friend is going to get a name.
Well, is there any name you would like?
Names are a human thing, but I'm living with humans now, so I guess I need one.
Hmm.
Nibble.
Here's
You're
here's a
muted.
question.
You're muted.
was your response in out
Yes.
loud or was that telepath? Oh, that because you're talking right,
Yeah.
so that was out loud. My bad.
Yeah, anything that's telepathic is going to Fluffy. Beast
Right.
speech is just it's being translated in
Gotcha.
beast head for beast and in
Okay.
person's head for person.
Are you in? Are you willing to willing to take a suggestion?
I was actually just about to ask, do either of you have name suggestions for the little one?
Oddly enough, I was thinking Holly.
Is climby plant?
Of a sort, yes.
No, she can't speak
Oh,
to
right.
you.
Sorry, I forgot. Sorry.
Turning around to
I'll get used to it. Sorry.
Do I recall that particular detail about Holly off the cuff?
I'm just gonna say yes.
Mm-hmm. That it very much is.
I don't have roots, but okay.
Jerica, do you have any suggestions?
Although, on the subject of names, I do have a question for you, Noms, and I am making you answer this one. What is Jerica's daughter's name?
Mina.
Mina. Okay. Oh God, now we're into Stoker. I hate you.
Okay, good. It wasn't just me. Thank you.
Yeah. I was wondering why you decided to pick that.
Jerica takes her cup of tea and turns to head out downstairs toward the barman.
Let's go with Holly for now. And if we come up with something else and you like it,
I can be climby plant.
you very much can. I'm going to offer scritches.
And then goes and hides in a pocket.
So Holly was acceptable?
Yep, there's room for workshopping, but
Fair.
in the meantime, it will definitely be satisfactory.
I'm honored to have provided it.
Clambers up, grabs a toast crust from Viola's plate, and boom, back into the pocket. And you just hear nom nom nom. Jerica, meanwhile, is downstairs with the barman is clearly cleaning up for the day, as it were. He needs to take a few hours to sleep his own self, so but he's still putting things in order. Looks up.
You're much obliged for the breakfast, sir.
Made cleaning the barroom easier. What can I do for you?
Well, my she glances up. My companions and I are looking for work that would help us with continuing to frequent your fine establishment.
And what kind of work were you thinking?
Well-paying work, but not shaking down poor old shopkeepers.
Well, there's a few options for interesting ladies of unusual talents, and I'm pretty sure that some of them are not what you're after. Oh, come on! No, shame. Whitehead one probably be a lot better company if you kept her mouth otherwise occupied.
Mm.
I joke.
Jerica's
I joke mostly.
Jerica's keeping mental images.
So, well paying and not picking on the little individual.
As you said, we've unique talents that, and I know there are some local bastards who would make use of those, but I know we're gonna end up meeting a bastard sooner or later, but as I said, not pissing down too much on the poor folk, and ideally not attracting too much attention from above.
Well, given the nature of most of the work, you seem to be alluding to how much notice you actually get from them is kind of down to you, isn't it?
Yeah, that is fair.
Hmm. And you're not adverse to using these talents pretty clearly. Mhm. And I'm fairly sure that you very much like whatever you do next to either keep you away from the overseers, or if you have to meet them, it's in a dark alley and they don't meet anyone after that.
Oh, it'll certainly be them or us if it does come to that. The alternative, not a pleasant one.
No, generally speaking, not, as far as I'm aware. Sorry, I'm just trying to think of it. I know a few folks, you see. I'm trying to think the best one for you. You're more the blade of the combination, aren't you?
About so.
And I imagine that the interesting looking white haired one is something to do with animals, which I would very much appreciate if she would keep in her pocket if she has to bring them into my barroom ever again.
I'll give her a reminder.
Thank you kindly. And Lady Posh Britches.
Let's call her an artist.
Most folks around here would be calling you the artist, not her. But I get the general impression that she is the look of the thing. Probably a better way of putting it. Thinks about it for a minute, wiping down the bar as he does so. Then rummages underneath for... Basically, it's a scrap of cardboard from an old delivery box or something similar, and an old wax pencil scrawls out what you're fairly sure is an address. The man's handwriting is not great, which is just as well, really, because if it gets intercepted, it's going to be hard for anyone to actually read. The individual who runs this particular crew, if you like, is a bit short on talents of that sort. Plenty of the mundane, but they've had an eye for something along those lines, but some of the other groups get a little pushy. So they might be looking for a leg up. I think part of the problem is that the lady that runs this organization... I don't know if it's a problem or an asset that she gives herself airs. She goes by Lady Hepzibah, but she's about as much a lady as I am. But if you're willing to dance around her little eccentricities... She didn't act much like a noble, but she gives herself the title and she pays like one.
As long as she's not some kind of lunatic, it's fine by me.
That's a matter of opinion, I'm afraid, and I try not to have those if I can avoid it.
That's fair.
Question, you're going to be staying in there for at least another 4 nights. Is there a sufficiency of furniture? We can probably move a cot or 2 in there.
We've put down the coin for the next few nights, so another cot would be appreciated.
Fair enough. And goes back to his cleaning up. If you're going to want out, you're either going to have to leave in the next 10 minutes or go out the way you went out last night because I'm locking up.
Fair enough.
We'll be unlocked again around about lunchtime, so best you get moving, and please bring your tray back down.
Of course. She nods and heads back up.
Okay.
Hands the cardboard to Viola.
That is the worst handwriting you have ever seen.
Oh, good heavens. Oh,
It's a local boss. I could use some talent.
Is that an L?
To be fair, you wouldn't know this address anyway. This is not your part of town.
Oh no! I was just try. Did he? He didn't put a name on it. He just put the
No.
address, right?
Yep.
Okay. No, that's not an L. I think that's a J. No. Q? No.
I know where it is, roughly.
Very roughly judging by this, but okay. Hopefully your reading comprehension's better than your climbing skill. No offense.
She got up to the top eventually without help. You can shut up. To be fair, that actually comes from Fluffy. She got up without help.
I'm not the one that fell in the alley. Well, okay, to be fair, that actually wasn't your fault. That was the shoes, so my apologies.
I thought ladies were supposed to be polite.
Depends on.
Fluff.
Never mind.
So who is it that we're meeting?
Goes by the name of Lady Hepzibah.
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 Lady.
I'm guessing we shouldn't inform her that she is not, in fact,
That's fair.
titled.
I gathered. Well, I mean, there are people out there considered "quote unquote" actual nobles that have about as much claim. So I'm not going to judge.
Does name twig any recognition on my end?
God, what would you even roll for that?
My best guess is something like history or survival, depending on what context.
To be fair, a lot of your survival is urban, so make me a survival check. Ah, yes. Lady Hepzibah, you've heard in your time, generally from, underneath the various spots where she and hers ply their trade, is she's an interesting gang leader, as it were. She does target the nobility, but what she does is interesting. Because there's there's few enough people with the talents that you guys seem to possess. Even your little whispered rumors don't quite pick up anything inexplicable. What she does is she trains her crew to be able to be fair, do what Viola did. She trains them to fit in with the nobility. So they can run cons and grab their money without anyone being the wiser. And in fact, half the nobles are so enchanted with the con that they don't care they lost money when Lady Hepzibah is doing her job right. The rest of the time, it makes assassinations look like maybe a jealous ex-lover or an assignation gone wrong, or that it just goes to show you never know about these nobles from out of town. And it also means they're very good at gathering information, because when these people go, basically she trains them as infiltrators. Some can still fit amongst the docks. There's rumors that some even fit among the less overseer compliant individuals in the city. Because Lady Hepzibah is, if information makes you powerful, she rules.
I think, if memory is serving me correctly, that this is the absolute best person we could have come across or been directed to. I think you'll understand quite a bit more when you actually see what she does in action. But, best way I can describe it is she can work her way into a place that, and into places that, well, would make my little friends a little jealous.
Fair enough. That would be someone we should make friends with.
Keep in mind, clock's still ticking. Do you really want to climb out the window again?
And the barman said he wants us out for the morning so we can lock up. So let's get wrong.
Right. Yes, of course.
That
She
leaves one
takes the
little
breakfast
choice.
tray.
One little jar.
One little choice. Holly,
None of those.
would you rather stay here for the sake of being safer? Or come out with me?
I will guard the little room. Scrambles out of the pocket and sort of tucks herself under a cushion, and you just see a little nose.
Barman also doesn't want to see any rats in the open downstairs.
That should be easy enough. After all, Holly is guarding this little room and not wandering off.
Right. Good.
Are there leftover toast nibbles, please?
Then I'm just producing any I've got.
There's enough to keep Holly going, and you've got if you leave the window open a crack, you can let her get some rainwater in. So
Yep.
she's good. She's
Okay.
fine.
Gonna actually open the window and. Alright, Fluffy. We'll be heading out the front, so just circle around and stick to the lampposts. Okay, now we're squared up.
Okay.
I say it's time to go looking for tasty, tasty info.
Jerica heads back downstairs to drop off the tray,
Yeah.
head out the door.
He's he's just finishing up his tidying and just takes the tray, puts it back in the kitchen, then follows you to the door so he can lock up behind you. And there you are on the cool, wet, foggy streets of Dunwall. It doesn't look that much better in the daytime. There's more people. Sort of.
Jerica makes sure the two of them are following, and she kind of shoulders her way along as need be.
Yeah, to be
Follow.
fair, this area isn't overly crowded. It's you do have to cut through a few more crowded areas. There is an unfortunate trip through a meat market, which smells about as you'd expect, but it's your shortest way.
Yeah, I'm gonna be tailing Jerica, but at a somewhat respectable distance, just in order to disassociate and be able to book it in case any guard happens to recognize me and decide to be frumpy about something.
I can't do anything about that. But as for myself, after a block or two, getting a chance to get a look and compare, like assume if my clothing does not fit the area that we are, I will
Yeah,
stop Jerica
it's
and
largely your clothes and your hairstyle that are the problem.
right. But I will I'll pause Jerica at a spot where I can step to the side and quickly just disguise self to be something a bit more appropriate for the area. It's this'll do for now. I'll do better. I'll once we you know get the job done.
You look
Well.
like a proper fishwife now.
Oh hush! But thank you. I, I do take pride in my illusions.
So yeah, it's a bit of a walk down. Lady Hepzibah seemed to have her own patch of territory. It's largely what was at one point a more industrial area, but it's one of those little spots where the industry um, kind of, well, at least that particular warehouse kind of tanked, and a lot of the areas nearby were turned into more residential areas because the whaling and the tanning and all the rest of it in the area, the workers needed some place to live. But the warehouse building is still there. Make me a perception check, guys.
13.
8.
Uh,
20.
Delphine is very used to looking at minor changes and listening for minor changes. So when she's peering in through some of the boarded up windows, um, she sees a very faint flicker of light that looks to her a bit more like a candle than, errant rare sunbeam hitting metal. And that might be music, but it's very, very faint, so you can't tell.
Hmm. I'm going to just sort of pause by that area, and if they keep walking, uh, Fluffy's going to buzz their heads.
Near.
What?
Oh, you find something?
Going to grin, sort of lean up against the thing, and just sort of put my against the just put my ear to it,
Yeah,
basically.
the only reason you're hearing any of this is because you're used to having to listen for the pitter patter of ratty little feet, and the thick walls of the building were, generally speaking, meant to absorb noise. So
Do a it does like just sort of putting my ear
no,
to it.
it's you're still not sure.
Hmm. Well, I'm going to poke about and start looking for a way in.
There is a door. It looks remarkably solid, in point of fact.
Hmm.
Going to try it and then tap.
It very definitely does not open when you try it, and at the tap, little slot opens, and a rather suspicious pair of quite bright blue eyes looks out at you. What?
I'm just going to
What?
gesture Jerica.
We're looking for Lady Hepzibah.
And purpose of your visit?
Employment.
Think about it for a moment. Apparently realizes that having this on the street is not a good idea and opens the door a crack. After the sound of some very heavy locks. It opens just enough to squeeze through.
Jericho steps inside.
If allowed, do I follow along?
Mm-hmm.
You guys are allowed in before the door shuts behind you, and in the fairly dim light, although only Jericho gets a really good look at this, is a good 3 individuals, 4 counting the guy at the door, all remarkably well dressed, all pointing hand crossbows at you. They're not firing yet, but the doorman says, didn't really think it'd be wise to be having this on the street. So, give us one good reason why we should be considering taking you in front of Lady Hepzibah.
At which point, Viola steps forward, looks at the guy at the door, disguise herself to look as much like him as possible, given the probably differences in height.
Yeah, and now, I mean, to be fair, you can, with disguise self, you can alter yourself by about a foot.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if it was a full or what. Thank you. So yes,
Now everybody is pointing their crossbows at her.
There's that. And
oh good heavens, and drop disguise self.
in addition, I used to be the royal rat catcher. Well, one of them, so I know
Yeah,
a
and
few ways to get out.
as soon as Rail Rat Catcher, the crossbows swivel directly at Delphine.
We're not local drunkards.
Well,
That's not clear by now.
obviously, you're much more interesting trouble than that.
Lady Hepzibah doesn't like interesting?
Make me a persuasion check.
And if not interesting, then
Oh
useful.
my gosh.
That's okay. They fucked up that roll badly anyway. So so 3 witches wander into our happy little home. Who sent you?
Rumors.
The best you guys are gonna get is the barman at the No Name Inn on Road. Because rumors is not impressing them at all.
I'm loath to want to say, but it was a barman. I can tell you which specific barman, if that would make a difference. But you understand, some people don't like it known who's being sent where. But I don't know what kind of arrangement you may have, if any.
You don't know what kind of arrangement we have, but you walked in anyway.
We don't really have a choice. We are looking for work.
There's a certain amount of muttering, and the words talented idiots may have come up somewhere along the line. The guy who'd opened the door nods to the 3 of them. Keep on them. I'll go speak to the lady. And so yeah, you guys now each have a crossbowman. Although most people are kind of looking at Delphine like...
I'm just gonna start quietly singing, What Do You Do with a Drunken Whaler? Just casually being eerie.
Wow, okay. Yeah, that Hand of Fate roll was... So was that one. Oh my god. Yeah, and then the actual rolls to hit are actually good. Yeah, now I have to remember what crossbow damage is. Okay.
They're
Yeah, no,
if they're hand crossbows.
I got it. I got it. Uh,
Yep, you probably already found it.
yeah, Delphine lucked out in that she only takes 4 damage because the individual who did actually decide to fire at her, 2 of them deliberately missed, and the third kind of nicked her ear a little bit. Basically, it was one firing while they, while the first one reloads, the second one fires, etc. And the first one's going, the next one's not gonna miss. You shot it.
Looks to Delphine.
I've already gone silent, and I'm just looking at them like with this expression of, I guess, the equivalent of lunch or not.
Oh god.
Just hand reaches over on the shoulder, just rubbing the bridge of her nose, just not a word, just
After a little while of this, um, the, uh, the doorman comes back, looks at the expressions on his men's face, looks at you guys. The blood on Delphine's ear. If you lot don't stop playing silly buggers, I don't know what the lady'll do to you. I don't know what she can do to you, but she's gonna skin me. I'm not entirely sure you care about that. I don't want to know one way or the other, but just so you're aware. If you want me getting skinned, keep on being how you're being. Meantime, and the accent goes rather surprisingly upper crust, Lady Hepzibah will see you now.
Thank you.
Viola just gives the whatever I'm not sure if it'd be curtsy or bow or what in this case, but
Curtsy, you're wearing skirts.
fair enough. So she does.
It stops you at, I mean, it was probably the door into the main, warehouse floor at one point, but it's been since replaced by a pair of slightly battered but rather ornate double doors, the kind you'd find in somebody's house. Opens it, a very thin crack just squeezes through, and then you hear three ladies of unusual talent. From Lady Hepzibah. And then both doors open, and somebody has turned the warehouse floor into a rather credible ballroom. They've had to the walkways overhead have had to be, draped with clearly thieved cloths of various degrees of richness to hide the utilitarian nature of them, and the runner rug is a couple of. They tried to clean out the stains, but weren't entirely successful. But the bits of floor they've managed to polish to be surprisingly good ballroom floors. The furniture's a bit mismatched, so are the candelabra. Um, but they light the room, and there's a rather credible little miniature chamber orchestra in set up in one corner. playing for the entertainment of the interesting group gathered. There's some in servants' clothing, some of the it takes some looking, but you can see where makeup has been used to hide some scars somewhere along the line, and to Viola would know better than anyone the artifice used to change the the contouring thing again. Um, Still others are you know, powdered and wearing some dresses that probably need to be tailored a little bit better, but that's clearly in the works. Currently, some of them are being taught to dance properly by others who are somewhat better at it. It's going better in some cases than in others. Sitting at the end of the long, off red, slightly stained runner rug on a rather elegant but sturdy looking chair is a woman who does not look remotely like she belongs here. She's brunette, hair kind of haphazardly hacked, dressed a bit like Jerica, and lounging on this elegant chair, one leg thrown over one of the chair arms, leaning an elbow on the other, and with the hand that's not leaned on, she gestures.
At which point, Viola, summoning up every bit of learned grace and hoity-toity, as it were, strides toward stopping at a respectable distance, and again curtsying with all due pomp and circumstance.
We may have to. And again, with one of the thickest dock accents you've ever heard. Just, we may have to keep you on just to teach some of these ones you can't see.
At which point she just nods and
Some of them still ain't got the hang of it. It's a problem.
Jericho just nods politely.
Eyes flick to Delphine.
I'm going to, after being noticed, just sketch a bow.
Right. So, you come stomping up to my door, looking for work. Does anyone happen to mention what kind of a situation we be running here?
To a point.
Oh, darling. Don't go trying to play cagey with me. You really don't want to be doing that. I get the information I need one way or another, and if you'd be useful, I'd really rather it be one way. I don't like the other. It's hell on the carpet.
the barman at the No Name Inn suggested your name when we inquired uh, for work. Jerica, how was it that you put it? I don't recall. Knowing full well she didn't say.
Work for individuals with unique talents. And then she kind of crosses her arms over and stretches a bit with her covered up hand.
Heard a little something about that.
I can demonstrate if you like.
I think I've heard about enough. What's this
All right.
one? What's this for now? Anyhow, I'd be if you're happy to show off when we've discussed our bit of business. I'll be happy to be entertained. What about this one? Most I heard about this one is something to do with rats. Oh, wait a minute! I remember you. Well, at least I remember reports of you. Looking at Delphine. They caught out your little fancy rat farm, didn't they?
That they did.
Well, if you want something done with your hair as part of your fee, if we choose to take you on, do let me know. Everything else is whatever, you're an islander, but the hair's a little bit of a giveaway.
Understood.
So I take it that the main reason that was mentioned about the rat catching is either you share some of the same qualities of your former little pets, or you have an interesting rapport with your former little pets, or all the above.
All of the above. And I know my way around some of the servants' levels of these areas.
Well, hence the talents of your little friends, actually. It's a chew through what you can't squeeze around sort of a situation, isn't it? So, if I happen to hear some word of out of control rat infestation round about 5 blocks from the clock tower, which ended with a piece of somebody's jaw and a pistol being chucked out the quarantine zone in a way that says to anyone with half a brain that, oh, if you go poking around and doing things you shouldn't to folks who are just trying to live their lives, you will be food. You wouldn't know anything about that, would you?
I would know a few things about that. Are there any particular details you are interested in? I wouldn't want to waste your time.
It was more of an evaluation of the sort of thing you can do and what you're liable to do if you get narky. I take it that was narky.
That it was.
One of my own little sources of information said something about, oh, just shut up and be food like you're supposed to.
That is completely accurate, ma'am.
Mom, really?
They,
Looks at Viola. Educate her, won't you? She's not one of mine yet.
Out of character, I'm not following.
Mom is for actual royalty. That's like Queen and Empress shit. She's milady.
Oh, sorry. I think that may have come through a little garbled because I was trying to say ma'am. Was that?
Yes, but it'd be pronounced Mom.
Got it. Thank you.
And either way, Mom or Ma'am is reserved for upper echelon nobility, rulers, actual royalty. To be fair, Delphine probably would have got that a little bit garbled.
Mm-hmm.
So, you do have educate her, won't you? You're muted.
And just looks over at Delphine. Milady.
Understood, milady.
Last I heard, I wasn't in line for the throne, you see. What about yourself? Looking up at Jerica. And I'm afraid you're going to have to be a little bit more forthcoming than you've been up till now.
Jerica considers and kind of wrinkles her nose a bit before she holds up her left hand with the wrappings, and then she summons a claw of shadows around it.
That's quite a trick. What else you got? For the record, how much of this you want to say is up to you, but best things to mention, you being enough street to know, you can see in the dark, and not just natural dark either. You can be one place and then another, basically in the blink of an eye, and you can make yourself incredibly difficult to hit.
I work good in the dark. Can see things where others wouldn't be able to, and they won't see me. This goes through a man's chest very cleanly. If I focus enough, they won't be able to hit me before I hit them with this. I think those are talents that you would find valuable.
Alright then. Thank you. I hope your forthcomingness will continue, although possibly not in the grand ballroom, because now you've piqued my interest enough that I'm minded to start discussing terms, which will obviously be discussed before I go setting you to tasks. I'm not that kind of employer, but you lot have the look of individuals who got something more than coin on your mind. And you, looks at Jerica, have a familiar look to you. So, I'm going to have my footman, shall we say, set up a little bit of conference room upstairs. I know the cuisine at the No Name Inn is a little bit lacking. You might find something a bit more to your tastes over at the buffet table over there. You'll be summoned when I'm ready for you. Steps up and again swaps to the you wouldn't be able to tell, apart from the look of her, that she wasn't masquerading nobility. Excuse me, ladies and gentlemen. I am sorry to interrupt your revels, but I have some business to discuss with potential new friends, shall we say. Please, for the moment, make them feel welcome. Or at the very least, try to avoid making them bleed if they annoy you. And the little chamber orchestra starts up again, and she walks up a well-concealed flight of stairs to the upper ramp. And yes, the buffet is the kind of thing that that Viola would have seen at a salon. It's cream cakes and the kind of fruits you can only grow in uptown greenhouses, and bacon, and a far better breakfast than you guys had.
Yeah, Viola's very suitably impressed, actually, and began strongly reevaluating her initial opinion of Lady Hepzibah. Actually,
To be
and
fair, none
yeah,
of when you're looking, none of the tableware matches.
Oh.
All of this seems to have been yoinked from somebody else's kitchen at some point.
Out of curiosity, would she happen to recognize any of it?
Give me a perception check.
Just curious. 11.
Oh boy.
It wasn't the best. the stuff you saw was for upmarket salons and that kind of thing, not for morning breakfast platters, which is what somebody is grabbed off bits and pieces. But yeah,
It was worth it. It was worth a look.
I mean, some of it might be, but you're really not overly sure.
It was just an idle thought. But yeah, she's basically all but in her element at this point. So she's having a grand time of it. Just getting to engage in.
Given that wasn't a hugely bad roll, you do recognize those cream cakes over there. They're not on plates you recognize, but they're from a fairly popular upmarket bakery. So clearly somebody's morning delivery got absconded. You were quite fond of those.
Oh, in which case, oh, lovely, and grab a few. And, Delphine, I insist you try these. And she'll basically spend the time just wallowing in the being able to go hoity-toity all over again. Um, and actually, if there's time, look around, watch the people trying to learn. And tap one of the instructors on the shoulder and just kind of be like, "May I?"
The one you're tapping on the shoulder is a gent trying to teach a young lady who is holding a slightly chipped flute of what seems to contain mimosa, the art of polite conversation and not going too far with a gentleman. So he's like, if you think that you have anything to offer in this instance, and whispers, the young lady was currently employed in a more street corner occupation.
Understood. In which case, I will pause for a moment and looking the guy up and down, getting all the detail. Okay, and disguise self. I now look like him, so as to.
Uh,
I thought you might be more comfortable.
she she recovers remarkably fast. And just all right. Okay,
And
so make me a performance check. I don't
okay.
think you get the advantage on this because this isn't really acting. This is teaching.
Oh, okay. 11. Oh well.
She's that's the thing. You're starting with a brand new pupil who's you spend most of the few minutes that you have, learning her name and learning where her areas of issue are, so you can report all of that to the gentleman when you're called in. Meanwhile, what are you two doing?
That was fun.
Conscious of it not being comfortable in this circumstance, and very carefully only eating one piece of bacon at a time.
Okay.
I'm going to try and sort of fade into the crowd the same way the typical servant would. Just kind of be as background as possible, and try and figure out: am I within telepathy range of Fluffy? I'm within 100 feet.
Yes, you are, because as far as you can tell, Fluffy's on the roof.
Yeah, so I'm going to find myself a space out of the in that sort of background.
Yeah, if you want to be out of the main flow, the sort of the corner of the buffet table is probably a good place to be because everyone's sort of around the front of it, so you can kind of scrunch off to the side where, where Viola could tell you a servant would be evaluating the the fullness of the dishes to know what needs to be replaced, but they're not doing that at this point because it's a breakfast salon and they'd have to go steal something else if they wanted to refill the plates anyway. So
Yeah. Once I'm there, I'm going to look through Fluffy's eyes briefly.
You see the street.
Just gonna sweep it, make sure there's uh, nothing. Basically, just sort of looking to see if there's anything resembling a guard group or heading
Okay,
in this general
give me
direction.
a perception check. You're seeing all this through Fluffy's eyes with your special abilities or his. But I don't know if that really applies in this case, but perception either way.
Yeah. 15?
There is a group that looks like guards patrolling the area, but when Fluffy gets a bit closer, you have to get close and have, sharp eyes to catch it, but you're pretty sure that that tear in that jacket is a stab wound, or was a stab wound. So these individuals who are looking like guards are not guards, but they are maintaining the appearance of guards to keep other guard patrols out of the area. It's already covered, you see. In fact, oh yeah, the Hand of Fate likes you. You do in fact catch some junior guardsmen, because you can't you don't tend to have the tall boys in this area because they just scare people. So you get these older, more professional looking guards being approached by the basically these are just out of whatever cadet circumstance the street guards have, and you see some coin change hands, and the ones who are actually guards walk away.
And, just direct Fluffy back to the, I'm just gonna say telepathically to come back to within the range so that I can uh, puff or so that I can bring Fluffy to me if needed.
Okay, it goes back to the roof. And given we're approaching that time, and this is probably going to be a bit of a protracted conversation, we'll take break now, and we'll be back in 5 minutes with the rest of the conversation with Lady Hepzibah. And we're back in the ballroom of Lady Hepzibah, uh, gang leader of sorts, who has a very interesting approach to taking the nobility for all they're worth. She apparently believes in, robbing from the rich, but with as little stab as you can reasonably get away with. Because, why bother fighting with them when you can just play with them instead? And so while Jerica's kind of debating making herself a sausage sandwich out of some of the bread rolls and things because it might look like actual food, because some of this looks a little bit foofy for her, and Delphine is standing in a corner with her eyes kind of fogged over, but only you two really notice because you're keeping an eye on her. And, well, Jarek is keeping an eye on her. Viola is having far too much fun identifying the flaws in the young street corner Mrs. Flirtation. Because you never really went in for the flirtation part, I think, is part of the issue. But you can at least identify where she's going wrong. You just kind of teach her how to do it. So, the gentleman who greeted you at the door, the footman, as it were, is the Lady Hepzibah will see you now. To Jerica predominantly because you look like somebody else. Although it does look at the instructor guy from across the room and then apparently trying to figure out which one of you is. And that just gives up, turns around to Jericho. The Lady Hepzibah will see you now, if you'd like to come with me. And bring your friends, glancing between the two identical individuals on opposite corners of the room.
Oh, wrangle them. Thank you.
I'll be waiting by the stairs.
Could I take this moment to step out of the background, as
Yeah,
it were?
you've got the sense that Fluffy is now back, so you can focus in on the room about now, because you can't see or hear anything that's going on around you.
When I do that.
Yeah, although you do note that you still have that cake that Viola was insisting that you try in your hand.
Quickly take some as I do that whole wandering out of that hiding in the background thing.
Yeah, it's sort of a bite-size, almost filled donut hole kind of thing with filled with cream and possibly
Yeah.
some jam in there.
I'm just gonna pop up next to Jericho with this thing in hand, as just kind of noshing on it.
It's probably tastier than anything you have ever eaten in your life.
Wow.
Finish that up so we can get back to business. Then she looks to the two instructors and
Yeah, because there's one over there and one over here, and you're well into, okay, I understand that you want to to accentuate your assets, but there are limits, dear girl, and you're going to hurt your spine doing that. Kind of thing. And you still don't know which of the... Okay, give me another perception check, please, Viola.
Not 20.
Yeah, it's around then when you notice that the Delphine is kind of licking the last of the cream from the cream cake mini bite that you gave her, and looking like I want more of these, but Jerica's and Jerica's got that. Okay, which of you two do I approach? But we need to get back to business.
At which point I'll pause the young lady, bow and drop disguise self, walk back over to the instructor. I believe we're being summoned, so, and then I'll give him a brief report of everything, and then.
So basically, what you're saying is she's being a bit too obvious with what she's offering. I think we can work with that.
And
you guys
head back over.
Gather into your little corner of the buffet table.
I take it that's time.
Yeah, let's get going.
All right.
And the footman of sorts leads you up these stairs, which they couldn't do anything about, so they're a little bit creaky, but the little chamber orchestra, which now you're getting a better look at them again. The instruments are second-hand, but very well tended, and actually being played by people who know how. It would appear that Lady Hepzibah is very interested in cultivating talent of any type, and you can just imagine what a chamber orchestra for hire will hear. So she makes good use of the things that she finds. Apparently, is Viola's thing, as given that perception check, because she's looking at the room and going, okay, they've probably got tailors who are fixing some of the clothes, so they're training some people in tailoring, and, dance instructors, there's always a market for those in the noble houses and the chamber orchestra, and a food delivery individual. She must get information from everywhere.
Like I said, very suitably impressed and very much reevaluating.
And the office that you're led to was obviously the foreman's office at one point, but the windows that were supposed to overlook the main warehouse floor are covered with yet more bits of velvet, and the footman knocks on the door, cracks it open. Your guests are here, milady. Please send him in. The office is interesting in that it's not overly interesting. Apart from the velvet on the windows, it's very utilitarian. The main thing of interest is near to the outside window, there's a row of cages, each containing a bird. There's a couple of ravens, a couple of pigeons. There's a whole lot of scraps of parchment and things that are in the midst of being transcribed into longer documents. This is apparently where the notes happen, but beyond that, the furniture is, again, it's probably the original warehouse furniture. The chair is comfortable but not ostentatious. Likewise, the desk. There's no rug. This is where business happens. But someone has brought in a couple of the nicer mismatched chairs so that three people can sit down in front of the desk, and there's Lady Hepzibah not doing the lounging thing or the lady thing. And her accent has sort of gravitated to somewhere in the middle. For the last of your nat 20, that accent is someone who was raised below stairs in a fairly high-ranked noble household, who plays up either bit of the accent she heard as a child, depending on necessity. Right then. I reckon that we all need to have a bit more of a private conversation. One thing I will say before we start off is that, assuming that the contract that's not a fair way to say it. Assuming you're happy to sign on with us. In fact, even if not, this is an interview, and we're each mutually doing each other a favor. Any information you tell me now will not go into my collection. But I need to know something before we start talking too much in the way of promises and things signed. Because the three of you, and some more than others, I was looking into you lot, because I've heard things about people who match your descriptions before, you see. So I do have some information, assuming that if we reach a mutually satisfactory business arrangement, you can have that information as a part of your fee. But the main thing I need to ask, knowing what I know, and please don't lie to me or try to dance around it, because it won't help anyone. Besides coin, what are you after? People who have talents like yours always come for a reason that's not just a bit of fancy. Just because someone felt like it. That's fey, not whatever you have fallen into. So we'll begin with would-be Lady Viola de Vere. And keep in mind, you guys did not give names. What are you after? Because as far as everyone else is concerned, you're disappeared to most, dead to a few nobles of my acquaintance, shall we say. You're muted.
I realized. Well, to put it simply, and not to find a point on it, the nobles are nobles by virtue of illusions, lies. At the very least, I would very much like to hoist them on their own petard, and I have the illusions and lies of my own to help me do it. Um, in addition, very impressed with your operation, and I feel like we could both benefit a great deal. I am very impressed by your work,
Thank you very much.
and that is not a lie.
But I will ask, what are your intentions towards Lord Concord's daughter Amelia? Which would be the young lady you're pretty sure. Well, Ellie would have actually told you why before it happened. She tried. She tried. Because you know Lord Concord was perfectly happy to pay for it.
There's a. I'm. Justice or vengeance or even just self preservation in that case. They wanted me dead. I am not. And I would prefer to make certain that they didn't succeed in making certain I was. How that entails, what that entails, at this point, I'm not particularly sure I care, nor am I particularly certain I have the option of choosing what method that is.
He glances to Delphine and then to Jerica and then back to Viola. Don't you?
I have more options than I did alone, admittedly. However,
Well, with some of your talents, you could get close enough to. I mean, I'll be truthful with you. You know what I'd do if I had your abilities. I'd take the form of a particularly charming and handsome young stranger, perhaps from the islands. I would woo her. I would turn up at a ball, a mask preferably to start with, as a handsome and dashing and exotic stranger. I would appear at other balls, be at the corner of her eye, offer a dance and then disappear. I'd sing at her window. I would earn her heart. And then I would leave a note saying that I must to return to the islands and make sure everybody knew that I was going to be returning to the islands. I would give a ship name. But I would tell her that I was actually leaving secretly on a much later ship. Offer elopement, romance, adventure in the islands. And then when she came to meet me at the dock, I would slit her throat and reveal myself as the last thing she ever saw. The gentleman who never existed is gone anyway. Name on the manifest and all. Couldn't be pinned on him.
and Viola is just taking all of this in and just smiling and just, yes, this is a kindred spirit. It's the look on her face. She's
Jericho,
not getting it at all.
Jerica's looking like she underestimated Viola too.
And that's only what she can do with being able to look however she wants at will. There's so many other things that she could do, I imagine. Can you make things... I mean, if you can illusion yourself, clearly can't illusion others, or you would have your white-haired friend by now. But you can make other things appear.
In which case she'll at her side on the floor is now a an exact copy of Fluffy as Raven, because I think ravens would fit a 5 foot square easily.
Oh, easily, yes.
Okay.
And any other sensory bits and pieces? Prestidigitation can do sense and things.
Well, I don't think I have that actually on my sheet. No, I don't.
Technically, you should. So let's
Okay.
say you do, and I will stick it on there later because I intended you to have a bit more in the way of a sensory experience. But anyway.
Okay. Then yeah, I'll make a couple of simple chimes in the air and such.
Can you do sense? A fine island cologne would help to add to your illusion, and it's the kind of thing that can't be faked easily, and if it can be removed at will, then not even a scent can give you away.
There wafts a
waft.
Thank you.
I'll keep reminding you until you get it.
Get one of these days. I keep messing that one up. That's one in particular. Wafts through a very spicy ocean type. And yeah, no, she and at which point this might be a bit forward, but I sense in you a definite kindred spirit. I think we are going to get along, or I hope that we are going to get along famous.
Well, as I say, if I could do half of what you can do, this would be I'd probably be a bit more hands-on than I am at the moment. You might hear a few of my reasons for doing what I'm doing if things continue well with the rest of your friends. Speaking of Delphine Cree. Oh, you poor thing. We heard so much about the lovely little pets you were thinking of bringing into the court. Honestly, once you'd got there, we'd had an eye on getting in touch with you in the first place.
Huh.
Well,
that's
pretty little pets in the pretty higher courts. If a friendly pet gets away, very easy to pass messages along. And as I understand it, you've been looking at the research that says rats can be well trained.
Mm-hmm.
We had some thoughts about that, but I think that your rapport with them, if that situation by your lodgings was any indication, goes a little beyond that now.
Yeah, as one example, and I'm going to bamf Fluffy off the roof and pop onto my hands.
And that's not the illusion like she did.
I'm going to have a Fluffy flap somewhere and probably perch on a corner of her desk.
Hello. Fuck the regent! Alright, I'd prefer not, but your mileage may vary. I'm pretty sure that the regent's interspecies liaisons probably go more towards sheep, but you do you.
Yeah. That does sound accurate.
So, rapport with the animals and bolts of energy.
Yeah, I wasn't sure how I was going to make them stop screaming. So my options were whatever came out and my knife, and I didn't want it to be all that obvious, so I just...
Well, I would think that glowing green beams of light are pretty obvious, but as long as I know you can use a knife and aren't reliant entirely on whatever swarms of rats you can summon, create, whatever it is you do. But you can talk to them, I imagine.
I can. Would you like a demonstration of how many?
This is not a particularly large office, so I'll take your word for it. I think my people got a pretty good look at some of its limitations, or lack thereof in some cases, from last night.
If your people saw the majority of that, they have a good deal of the sum of it. There is one thing I haven't precisely tried yet, but it's an extension of one of the things I did then.
Well, is it going
I
to
think.
destroy my office?
No, not. It shouldn't be anything physical.
Alright. If you feel like experimenting, I suppose this is a safe enough place to do it.
Right? And I'm going to cast darkness centered on myself. So the office basically just goes pitch.
To everyone but Jillian.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, Jerica. Fuck. It's your
Just the J
fault
name.
for picking J names that have the same number of syllables. I'm bad enough with names as it is, but that one's on you. Right. Given what you said, Jerica Redder, can you see in this?
I can indeed.
Well, that makes one of us. I'd still prefer be looking at you. Do you mind turning it off now?
And the minute she says that, I'm dropping it.
Thank you very much. Right, well, given that it's something that Ms. Rader can see in, that's a useful thing to have, I suppose. And you've made a start, I think, on what it is you're after.
Payback. And a place where I can take care of my friends without being bothered. As a start.
We'll talk once we've settled a few other matters. Jerica Redder. Lost at sea.
That's right.
Lost at sea, but the rest of the journey was quite fortunate, as I understand it.
Fortune's a fickle thing, I think.
Well, unfortunately, the crew that lost you at sea seem to have taken that as a sign.
So I've heard.
There's a bit more to it, but I'm assuming that you're going to want to deal with that particular group before they do anything else. Particularly the specifics.
That's right, and since you seem to know quite a few things, I imagine this would be a fair exchange in you helping me to find a lot of them.
Well, I have more information than that, but yes, that would be a part of it. So, here's what I can offer you. Anywhere between 3 to 5 gold a contract, depending on the contract. Expenses paid at what you refer to as the No Name Inn. for young Delphine here, we've got a fairly extensive basement. As long as you don't go interfering with the wine cellar, might be a good place for you to restart. Not a good place to live, though. We don't tend to have anyone actually living here. There's always people in it, but it's not set up for sleeping, not even for someone who's happy enough to sleep with their companions. And information. In return, try to turn down as few contracts as you can. As if we're picking you for these things, it's probably because you're the best we've got for that particular contract. Obviously, we have our secrets, we keep them. Bonuses available if you'd be happy to pass along the less, shall we say, esoteric skills at your disposal. And don't abuse our hospitality. That acceptable?
It's quite fair.
Very much so, milady.
And takes out a piece of paper, sketches out something of a glyph on it. Not something you've seen before, and it seems to be more of an actual gang sign than anything else. I won't ask you to put a name down, but make your mark. And hands over the paper and a quill.
Viola does, without hesitation. Just
Jerica signs her name.
Somebody's showing a interesting level of trust. But then again, I suppose you'll be paid back in kind soon enough. It shoves it over in
Exactly.
Delphine's direction.
I'm going to think back to the little funeral and write in that same thing that was etched into the floor.
the D in the ear.
Mm-hmm.
Alright. So, I think we should probably start with Ms. Rita. Now, usually these interesting little nests of belief don't go in for the natural philosophy side of things. Natural philosophy, for those of you who aren't au fait with the older terminology, is generally the accepted term at the time for science.
I'm well aware they're superstitious bastards.
But unfortunately, the superstitious bastards that you're talking about have enough natural philosophy among them to make a few interesting logical jumps. Nothing to do with bloodlines. Pointed look at Jerica.
Jerica tenses up.
And, you know, those who drown can be brought back if you catch them quick enough. We've heard some talk around the various less salubrious sorts of areas about what would happen if someone connected to one that brought them such great favor could be sacrificed repeatedly.
Jerica grits her teeth and glowers at the floor for a moment.
Of course, they have to get their hands on a test subject first, but I suppose that would entirely depend on whether the one they have in mind could be parted from, say, grieving parents who've had their child's child promised a better life.
Hmm.
I am sorry to air your dirty laundry in quasi-public, but they were going to have to know anyway.
Where are they?
That's the thing. We've seen where they discuss things, but one of the things that we were going to be setting you on was a bit more of an information gather than you seem to be thinking of. Because we want to know where their headquarters is. And we want to know what they know, and what they plan, and what they worship, before somebody goes in and murdering people. And we're perfectly happy for the murdering people to happen, as long as it happens at a time and in a manner that doesn't point back to us and gives us the maximum of information, because unfortunately they are a little bit like the worst side of rats. You can kill as many as you like, but there's always going to be some surviving, which is wonderful if the rats are good, but these are a bit more plague-riddled types, I suppose. My metaphor is a little bit insulting to you, I'm sure. I apologize.
I'll deal.
It was the best one I could think of on fairly short notice. Does give hope for yours, though.
Uh-huh.
We can give you a few scouting starting locations, but this is a 3 gold job to start with. And when you find the place, you don't kill anyone. Not yet. You inspect...
Is my daughter in the city? She interjects very pointedly.
That I don't know. That's one of the things that you're going to have to find out without killing anyone.
Fine.
If you can get information to us quick enough. If she is in the city, she won't have to be in their care for very long. But we need to know who they are, who's their sponsor, because it would appear they've got one, what they're worshipping, and what their defenses are like, because it will inform further similar strikes on other bases of operation. We don't just go in and slaughter everyone, no matter how personal it is. The only reason I'm warning you of this is because I want you girded for it so that you don't lose your head. Literally or figuratively.
I'll do what needs to be done.
By whose standards?
Yours.
For now. I do understand, And, an unhappy employee is an employee that doesn't stay with you for very long. So, understand that I will be making allowances, but in this particular instance, I'd like to keep you on board. I'm not going to pitch you over the side as a sacrifice to something. I'd rather not do that. I believe in mutually beneficial business arrangements.
I can live with that.
And mutually beneficial in this case does mean not letting the youngster, if she is in the city, be stuffed in a cage and dunked in the sea on a regular basis. Which I'm assuming would be how that works. Honestly, I don't really understand the mind of most cultists.
Humans aren't made for that sort of thing.
No, they aren't. Right. If you'd like to go back downstairs, I think they should be changing the buffet to something a little more daytime appropriate. Your interest in those little cream cakes was noted, and we'll have to see what we can do about that. I will make you a list of the places that these individuals have been heard talking, and you can start your investigation from there. I will speak to our mutual friend at the No Name Bar about your accommodations. You may still have to share a room but we can make sure that it's more than just a cot in a corner and the chaise longue. If you're going to be running about, you will need a decent day's, I suppose, for the most part, sleep. But you'll need to wait for a few hours because the man does need his rest, so I'll have someone bring down your information unless you had any further questions.
Regards to these scoutings, it's just as much as we can gather, so long as we don't risk being spotted, then.
Well, no one's going to miss a few ponds, really. Use your discretion. If you happen to get spotted or something along those lines, do what you have to, because I'd honestly rather keep you in my employ. When you've found a location, do scout it out on your own initiative, just to get a feel for the area. Hopefully we can provide you with a little bit more in the way of information and possibly some safety from the guards. That's the other reason that you need to wait, because we have this area patrolled by credible guardsmen. And we can arrange for shifts in the appropriate area if we know in advance. Let us help you.
We'd certainly like to keep our own heads down as much as you do.
I'm sure you'd very much prefer just keeping your head in general, but yes. Our guards could use a different district to practice their marching and their pickpocketing in. Thus, again, I'll have someone come down with your bits of information before I go and take my position in my ostentatious chair. Further questions, comments, philosophies on life?
I look forward to helping share the skills I've acquired as well. That was rather fun.
I'm sure that that my fair ladies and gentlemen are looking forward to much the same. Incidentally, rummages and flicks of gold in Viola's direction. You've already started, so down payment.
Much appreciated. Thank you very much.
Anything from you, young lady? We do have dyes for your hair.
That was what I was going to ask about. And if you need any sort of teaching in the way anyone teaching in the ways of moving unseen without the resources provided by the supernatural, I'd be happy to provide that.
We'll keep that in mind, but if you go downstairs and you find Sophie, she will show you that cellar space I was talking about and find some henna for your hair. That should kill
Thank
some
you.
time and let poor Brian get some sleep. Don't tell him you know his name. He dislikes it so.
Understood.
Oh, incidentally, your nemesis, Ms. DeVere. Much as I hate to admit it, I'm looking forward to you bringing the skills you have to bear on him. Almost as much, if not more, than you do. The man has a fancy for chambermaids and always has, old goat. Where do you think I came from? And shoots them off.
That would, yeah, she just puzzling over that and like kind of blink, blink, blink over that as she walks out the door. Just like, okay.
Well, you knew that she was from downstairs somewhere. The other two were probably a little bit bewildered, but
Cogitating. Click in the sort of the piece falling into place in the brain, and just sort of and that grin starts spreading. I'm just looking around for the person she told me to look for.
Right. Well, I think that went amazingly well.
yes, Sophie.
Surprisingly well.
Sophie is. I mean, she looks like a lady's maid. Same skin tone approximately as you, but the hair is and very, very dark. That's basically who you were told to look for, so.
So I'm just going to beeline.
Oh, hello. Oh, yes, we do need to do something about that hair, don't we?
Yeah.
And I heard something about basement space.
I was told I could use it for restarting what I was doing before things went sideways.
All right. Well, let's. I have a little room set up down there where I do some of the tailoring and beauty work on some of our ladies. So there should be enough space. If you'd like to come with me, I'll see what I can find for you. Zoom.
And yeah, just following.
Yeah, going down into the cellar. There's a few doors. One of them is locked and kind of guarded, and it's like that's our wine cellar. There's some good bottles in there, and we keep a tighter look on it than the people we got them from.
Yeah, I can agree. Some people who I got spaces I was sent into. Well, the things they wanted removed were in the very cellar they wanted people out of.
Anyway,
Goodness.
the space that you'll want, I'll show you that before I show you our little wardrobe room, is through here and pushes open some wooden double doors, and this is more space than you had in your two rooms combined. And it seems to be where they are storing. Yeah, they're storing sort of leftover bits of furniture and crates from things they've lifted, and
Just kind of,
you could build such a habitat out of this stuff.
yeah, just sort of like fantasizing and starting to giggle and just I've got Fluffy if followed, just sort of a have a seat sort of gesture and continuing to giggle and move to each wall and sort of gesture and sort of the vague frameworks of what I want to make.
Okay, but I see the act of creation happening. Um, this is a room we're probably going to have to show your very upright friend later, but um, this is our, shall we say, costume department. And she flings open a door on the same wall as the wine cellar was in, and it does look like a costume department. There's on the far wall. There's as well lit as you can get with like oil lamps and candles. Makeup
And what
table
few
with mirror all along the wall and vanity table just covered with uh, all manner of cosmetics. A bucket and basin for doing things with hair, and along the other walls, just rows upon rows of clothes.
huh. Well, I'm observing the various lights, and since they're more traditional oil lights and candles and such, I'm going. Well, at the very least, this room isn't inhaling energy made from living beings. At least not in the same industrial quantities.
Okay, I'm just gonna start with your hair now, if you wouldn't mind sitting over here.
Happily.
And yeah, you get the full on shampoo. She's got very good hands, and then and works some henna through it, and by the time it's done, your hair is a very dark mahogany trending to black. You're probably gonna need that done once every couple of months, depending on how often you wash it.
That, I'm just immediately thinking, because given the amount of time I spent with my own little friends, I started taking a few cues and trying to keep as clean as physically possible.
Well,
That
you shouldn't wash your hair every day.
that seems about accurate. I'd probably still go about.
Body daily, hair once every couple of days. Particularly with
Yeah.
hair like yours. I wish mine was that straight.
I don't think anyone's even so much as noticed anything like that before.
This is boring. I don't know who your parents
No,
were, but they
I
blessed you
understand.
with
It's
manageable hair.
thank you, and well, if there's anything I can do to repay this outside of whatever arrangements have already been had, I'll happily do that.
Well, I can't think of anything at the moment, but it's sort of what I'm here to do. But let's just say that I don't know. I suppose I could use an actual friend.
Oh, I can do that. I can, I can actually, I can do that in a number of ways. I think.
How about just
Um,
be my friend?
that
Unless you prefer the four-footed.
a little bit, but I no, I don't mean to say that I don't want to be your friend. I mean that beyond myself, if you'd like an
I
once
like,
things get
I
going.
like, I like. I mean, I'll see, but I meant more someone I can have a conversation over a cup of tea with now and then. Not all of us are so lucky as to be able to actually speak to animals and understand what they say back.
Yeah. Thank you again, and I will happily visit whenever I can.
Yeah, next time you're by, I'll see about tea and cakes.
That the cakes.
Oh,
um,
the breakfast cakes are fine, but you should see the ones they bring out around about dinner time. I still have one. It shouldn't have. I mean, it was only from yesterday, so it should be okay. Hang on just 1 minute, and rummages around in a little sort of cabinet off to the side because this is clearly her work area, and she comes out with this. It uh, There seems to be a sort of cake bit on the bottom, but it seems to be soaked in what smells like rum, and then it's just cream of some kind, and then dusted over with what appears to be dark chocolate powder, and brings that out in a fork.
I'm just briefly not sure what to make of this before just sort of following any indication she gives of
And
just
it's just munch.
then
Does the fork
just sort of
motion.
following through on that and
And yeah, it's tiramisu.
offering to share.
It's all right. I've had plenty, but and yeah, it's tiramisu, so you can just imagine her just going rum and creamy, cheesy sweetness and that. Mm.
Just yeah, she's basically having a I guess the best way to describe these moments are the kinds Remy and Ratatouille kept having the little rat like tripping balls over food, and
Yeah.
I was thinking Barnabas with the fudge.
that would also be accurate. I Jerica made a bit of an indication about this, but do you have any gloves that would hide this without really restricting motions?
Disappears into the piles of into the racks and piles of cloth. You hear rustle of fabric, and then just ha comes out with a pair of fairly sturdy, uh, but suede rather than kid fingerless gloves. And these ones come with if you need extra protection for your fingers and don't mind losing the dexterity, there's a kind of fur-lined mitten foldovers for the fingers, which you can. She shows how you can sort of fairly easily attach them at sort of the palm and the backs of the
Yeah, this is
hands around about the
basically.
first knuckle, but
Yeah, I see.
mostly it's just a pair of fingerless leather gloves.
These are amazing. Eh, not quite the same as the full kit from what work used to be, but alarmingly close.
Well, you wanted something that lets you have mobility. Is that something that your other friends would need? I think I've got a
Uh,
couple more pairs around here somewhere.
Jarek, could probably use actual proper gloves instead of just the wrapping, and I don't know what Viola will be using because she's
Well,
she's the kind that would be more at home
I can get
in
I
the
can
environment upstairs,
I can get
as it were.
I can get her proper ladies' gloves, and if she can change her look the way rumors say she can make them look like anything else too. So hang on, disappears back into the cloth again. Comes
I'm just
out
gonna.
with a pair of Funnily enough, the kind of silk gloves that an artist will wear to not smudge some of their works, and another pair of the fingerless ones for Jerica.
Yay! I think this will be more than spectacular. Um, there is one last thing. This is less wanting to know if you have it, more figuring something you might want to keep an eye out for if you ever see anything of this nature, or at the very least, bring it to me first. And I'm going to fish out the little bone charm that I've just had.
Okay.
I've had this, and well, since getting this is always this has started. It's felt a bit warmer than normal.
Well, I don't know how those work because I have to admit that some of that is a little bit disquieting. But
Mm,
I do know somebody who makes them.
that's interesting. May I ask who?
His name is Solomon. Uh, he sort of runs. The reason I'm a bit hesitant is he sort of runs a little shop of that kind out of the basement of a combination apothecary bookstore kind of thing out by the sort of district Sokolov and that bunch hang out in.
Ah, I guess that explains why the overseers haven't knocked down his door just yet.
I couldn't say. I just know what rumors I hear when I'm outfitting someone for a night out.
Hmm. The things you hear when you're just kind of there.
Well, when people are waiting to have things hemmed, um, they need to do something to take their minds off the fact that they're standing on a box for about a half an hour, not moving, or trying not to move because otherwise I will thwap them. I can't hem things properly if they move.
I I both kind of want to see you lay into someone for doing that, and also kind of don't want to subject you to more of people flailing about when they shouldn't.
Well, if you ever have a cause to be sent to a fancy party, you might get both.
That is fair enough. I'm gonna stuff the charm away and sort of looking a little apologetic for having
It's okay. It's okay.
obliged her to look at creepy.
You wouldn't. One of my other roles in this whole thing is as laundress. You wouldn't believe how hard it is to get some stains out of velvet. Silk is worse.
If I'm ever put into something of that quality, I will try to make sure to not get anything on it.
But if you do, know that I at least can take the stains out. It just takes great care to not wreck the actual dress or shirt or
Yeah.
jacket or whatever anyone is wearing at any given time. So while this has been going on, because this has taken a good half hour, what have you guys been doing? Yeah, you are muted.
Sorry, I realized. Viola is basically just doing more of what she had been doing, just sort of watching the goings on and not necessarily being quite as forward as she was the first time.
Well,
But
in her case, I imagine at this point it'd just be seeing exactly what watching people to see what sorts of things they are learning to know where she can fit her skills in.
Exactly.
And what she is getting is some is the gentle art of teasing information out of someone. Somewhere over there is the fine art of using that information in a blackmail capacity. Um, Someone over there is learning the fine art of pickpocketing not so much the coin purse, but something a bit more personal value. The art of manufacturing a compromising position. That kind of thing. So there are also lessons in, various households, etiquettes, dance, casual conversation, enough current events to be able to discuss things on an ability level. But the other stuff that she's finding really interesting is how they're using that in their criminal escapades. Finds one particularly interesting lesson in how best to use a garrote.
Taking mental note there. It's like, ooh, and I could get close enough with the illusion, and ooh.
Because what had happened was that this was a lady leading a gentleman subtly into a quiet corner, under a what would have been clearly under behind a heavy bit of curtain, and then just
And when she's not doing that, she will be just practicing with some of her illusions, just the cantrips, the minor illusion, just making various objects next to her, just seeing what she can come up with, just sort of exercising because she's had them longer than Delphine has had hers, but hasn't really had the chance to just try to see what she can make to do. So she's
I
also taking
think
a
you
bit of
have
time to do that.
I think you have a fly.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, I did. Thank you.
Yeah, say that would have driven me crazy. So yeah. And Jericho, what's Jericho doing beyond seething? Probably.
Jerica bites up a cigarette and tries to restrain her seething. Also, probably watching the garrote practice with mild interest.
Yeah, I can see that. A server does pass by with fancy glasses full of wine. This stops in front of her.
Jerica eyes the wine.
You work here now. We're not gonna poison you.
Thank you. Kindly. Takes the glass.
I mean, not that Jericho, I imagine, would know, but it is a fantastic vintage.
She appreciates it, but she definitely does not know the nuance.
No. I mean, the tray goes past Viola as well, so she does appreciate the vintage.
Oh yes.
And half an hour to 40 minutes later, Delphine comes up with her hair rather natural looking shade of very dark brown shading to black. And it actually takes a
Follow.
minute because you're used to looking for the silver white, and it's like, oh wait, no wait, I know that coat. Oh,
Oh.
Would I be carrying the gloves, or would
no, you'd be
the
carrying the
workstation?
gloves because she's back down cleaning up her workstation.
Hmm. All right, so I've got the gloves. I'm going to make my way over to Viola and present the interesting gloves.
The silk ones.
Oh, lovely. Thank you very much. Was that from Sophie? Was it?
Yeah, the costuming department.
Ah. we'll have to have a conversation. Thank you. And she'll put them on.
Yeah, it probably occurs to Delphine how much Viola would love that room downstairs.
If you head down there, you're going to have a time. I also found out about someone out on, well, the bridge district over where Sokolov is. So where Sokolov's big shot top of the bridge laboratory is. That probably by dint of proximity has some of the esoterica that might be researched there that hasn't gotten snatched up by the uh,
Right.
hilarious masked preachers on the street.
Are you going to give Jerica her gloves at any point? Because mostly you're just seeing Jerica looking for a place
Just
to stomp out her cigarette with a wine glass in the other hand and trying and
yeah,
failing not to seethe.
just
You, yeah. Go distract her.
I'm definitely going to. That little tidbit, though, I wanted to share with you before I saw if she would react poorly. I have plans, and I'm headed over. And I'm headed over to Jerica.
Yeah, by this time, another serving man, this one with a tray of empty glasses, has passed by and held out the tray to Jerica so that she can put her empty wine glass down.
Yeah, she definitely downed that more quickly than is proper, and then puts the stub in the glass and places it on the tray.
Oh dear.
We have people who wash these. Walks away.
And I'm just going to produce the gloves and bip Jerica on the shoulder with them.
What? But
And you start.
Here.
thank you.
You're. I want to say stewing, but you're not food. So.
Whoops, sorry. That was loud. I apologize.
It's fine.
That's very observant, Delphine.
And that's when you notice the hair.
She looks up and down a bit.
Downstairs is nice, and and Sophie is a bit brilliant about the whole well, any sort of appearance shift you'd ever want. I think that isn't the same as our delightful form-changing friend.
Yeah. Does Viola want to look in on the costuming department while Sophie's in the middle of cleaning up? You're muted again.
Looking over at Jerica and Delphine and that little exchange and just sort of...
They probably need another few minutes for Jerica to calm the hell down, and you
Yeah.
still need to kill some time so you don't wind up waking.
Brian.
Yeah.
Must remember not to say that. Yeah, I'm gonna give them some time. I did see where they went, so I think I'll make my way over there. And so yeah, she'll wander, head over and get a little bit through the doorway and sort of make the sound of a knock in the air. Hello?
Oh, hello.
Sophie?
Yes. And peers out from the various racks of clothes. Just washing up the basin from the henna, which
wonderful.
I'll never have to do with you.
No, you did marvelous work. It's very well done. I wanted to introduce myself. For obvious reasons, your work interests me.
Well, I mean, if you want to have a look around at our selection, because I imagine that while you can change your appearance, if anyone could ever do anything that might make things stop working, I don't know if that's possible, but I kind of have to assume. It's always best to be safe. So this is our I call it the costume department. I worked as a lady's maid for a while, and one of those usual stories, you know. So
Hmm. Well, you, it's great work. It's very good work. And yes, I would love to take a look around if you don't mind. I don't
no,
want to intrude.
no, not at all. I mean, most people tend to be looking to make sure that there's something that uh, is approximately the right size, matches their coloration or the coloration I'm going to give them.
Hmm.
To and
So you
also
do,
and
so you do the makeup as well?
oh yeah.
Oh,
We
my
also
goodness!
have people come down here to dig around and see if there's anything we need, because obviously
Hmm.
makeup runs out and sometimes clothes are beyond repair, because I also do the tailoring.
Wow. Again, being suitably impressed.
I'm not exactly given to some of the other pursuits, so I work down here.
Uh, Bravo. Uh, yeah. Yeah. And so yeah, I'll just take some time, just looking around, just uh, not just to see what's available, but also, for ideas. That's one of the things with Viola is she's always looking at ideas and options, and for disguise self and for her own artwork and things like that.
Yeah.
So
Well, what a lot of what she's seeing at the moment is that the racks are divided largely into utilitarian, um, last seasons, but is still good for another season, this season, and next season.
which is getting like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, though those take some work and generally involve a little bit of whole cloth tailoring, so to speak. But
Hmm.
yeah, we're having some interesting changes in the color next season.
Hmm.
Uh, I think there's some new dye coming out of Karnaka.
I was wondering where the vibrancy was coming from.
And
Yeah, she's walking around being suitably fascinated and impressed.
yeah, and
Possibly playing it up just a little, just for Sophie's benefit, because
there's another invitation for if you'd like to come down and have tea and talk shop sometime. I'm trying to make friends. I mostly, like I say, I'm mostly down here, so I don't get to meet people. And Delphine
hmm,
was sweet. It'd be nice to have someone to actually talk shop with, but it's also nice to get the very different perspective that Delphine offers. So
oh, definitely. And yes, by all means, yes, I would love to. That would be wonderful.
I tend to get gratitude from my fellows upstairs in the form of some of the choicer bits from the dessert table.
I will remember that. Yeah.
I tried Delphine on tiramisu.
Oh goodness. Did she?
You might want to make sure that she's a bit more understanding of the use of forks.
Yeah. She's she's a work in progress.
She's sweet though.
She is very much so,
Anyway,
and very talented. Anyway,
and
I'll.
no, I imagine that conversation would probably continue a little while longer. I just wanted to quickly move to Delphine and Jerica because they were kind of in the middle of a conversation when Viola excused herself briefly because
Jerk.
it's the word I want to say stewing, but you're not food
Hmm.
was where we were at. And Jerica just
Jerk
went.
is still glowering. She tugs on the glove, sure it fits good.
Yeah, they you do have matching set, and it's good to have a matching set. I'm just saying.
And if it's a similar sort of uh, damage proofing cover, I'm also going to try and You can grab a hold and demonstrate where that
No,
attaches.
she didn't actually get those. She just
Uh,
got fingerless.
so, since you're clearly not food, and doing food tends to make it squishier.
Just get to the point.
Point is that when you sit too long in that, you're something's gonna boil over. So the angry. Why?
Did
Air
you
it
not?
out.
Oh, Void.
Pop
Because
open the
those.
lid, as it were.
It's because those treacherous bastards didn't think killing me was enough. Now they want my daughter.
And you'll get your shot.
It's not even what's important anymore.
Of course,
What
there's also the fact that given what was said, you can extrapolate that to your daughter thinks you're dead. So do your parents.
well, so that begs a new question. If you're intent on getting payback, saving your daughter, all of that, and you clearly want to do that yourself rather than have our new employment help that along, because she seems like she sees things so much that it seems to Delphine that it's like you don't trust these people to be able to do anything. How's about seeing if you can get a bit more stuff like this? I'm gonna pull out the charm.
Yeah, you've got a couple of those.
Have a few of your own by any chance? Curiosities you picked up?
Look, if her people find Mina first, I'm not gonna complain. And then she pulls open her coat and fishes out one of her own.
I'm going to sort of reach and like almost pet at them because I know they're whalebone.
Although you do have the footman individual handing big turns up at Jerica's elbow, handing over a bit of paper and going, "Would the young Mrs. care to put those away before they disquiet people?"
I'm
Thank
going to
you.
anyway, I'm going to lean over a little bit closer to Jerica. There's more of these on Sokolov's bridge.
We've got our contract. Let's get out those places.
I'm
If
and the footman. I'm fairly sure that picking up some necessary equipment could be done in the same time frame.
fine, thank you.
And just, You want to be geared up proper, don't you?
Yes. Yeah. All right. We'll go. We'll go to the bridge first.
Well, you probably want to settle things with your new landlord, so to speak, first, and look at where you're going to go, so you can. What's the word that my lady uses? Uh, Plan your itinerary. Planning is apparently a good thing. That's why most of us are here instead of, dead. At which point, Viola comes back up the stairs, looking suitably impressed.
Downstairs is so glorious, isn't it?
Eminently so. I don't know about the two of you, but this place is wonderful.
Did you buy
Oh
it?
dear. I'm sorry, Delphine. I just saw the look on Jerica's face. Oh, and you're right. Oh dear. We will. We will get. We will.
You,
We
be
will. We
for,
will move as expediently as we can.
Thank you.
but
The Jeep looks to Delphine.
Viola is like, okay, we're gonna need to be on the same page here, so we're gonna need to go back, make sure that everything's settled with our rooms, look at the paper that Jerica is currently scrunching to hopefully not illegibility, and plan where they're going to go and how they're going to proceed. Which, because we're at that time, we will begin in 2 weeks because next week Ethan is otherwise engaged. So, I'll see you tomorrow, technically. Later, guys.
Later.